Chapter 2. Glasgow's miles better. Glasgow in the 1970s and early 80s was a much different city to the one it is today. The former workshop of the world and second city of the British Empire, which had produced some of the greatest ships in history and whose name was a byword for manufacturing quality, was going through a major readjustment. The economics and politics of the day had closed the gates on many of the old ways. Men who had worked all their lives in the shipyards of the Clyde or in other industrial manufacturing workplaces, just as their fathers and grandfathers had done before them, were suddenly out of a job. It was a dark period in the history of the city. Mass unemployment, coupled with high levels of urban decay, was eating away at communities, where in some places, youngsters with nothing better to do formed gangs and indulged in petty but violent tribal warfare. The 1970s especially were bad. It was a decade of decay, with areas of Glasgow immersed in a level of deprivation that's hard to imagine today. Entire families lived in 1 or 2 rooms without the basic necessities of running water and electricity. Huge areas of slum housing were systematically being demolished, and the occupants moved into high-rise apartments or relocated to massive new purpose-built housing estates, or schemes as they're called in Glasgow, outside of the city. The intention to give people somewhere decent to live was honourable, but these schemes ended up promising much more than they would eventually deliver. In the race to build homes, the designers seemed to forget that communities also needed shops, pubs, and other facilities if they're to thrive. While all this was going on, there was still a lot of rising unemployment and industrial discontent in the 70s, which led to endless disputes and strikes. In 1975, Glasgow's bin men downed tools for 13 weeks, resulting in the city streets being swamped with rotten garbage. For the first time in 25 years, the army had to be called in to deal with an industrial dispute and help clear up a mountain of more than 70,000 tonnes of rotten rubbish. It was during this period of chaos and uncertainty that my parents went through the most formative years. My mother and father were both children of the 60s. My mum was born Joyce Wilson in 1961 in Rotten Row Hospital, Glasgow, 2 years after my dad, James, came into the world, 12 miles away at Ross Hospital in Paisley. They met when my mum, the youngest of 7, was just 16 years old, and my dad, the oldest of 3, was only 17. It wasn't exactly a whirlwind romance, but within 6 months they were married. It was a union of hope over experience, as neither had any real idea of what they were signing up for. In many ways, I think their marriage was an escape from reality and an attempt to live a fantasy of sorts. The only trouble was, they didn't necessarily share the same vision. From what I've learned since, from speaking to both of them individually, it was a relationship doomed from the start. They obviously cared for each other and probably thought it was love, but with the benefit of hindsight, it's now clear their experiences growing up had created different expectations. For the next few years, they endured a volatile relationship as they tried to make a life together in a city weighed down by an image of negativity, violence and despair. However, there were some people who realised the city needed a new image if it was going to have a brighter future. Inspiration for change came from New York. The most populous city in America had also been going through a tough time in the 70s. The economy was on the verge of bankruptcy, crime was rampant, and tourism was at an all-time low. In an attempt to reverse the negative reputation, a campaign was launched to encourage more people to visit the Big Apple. It was graphic designer Milton Glaser who came up with the idea of the logo and slogan, "I love New York," and it was an instant hit. Glasgow needed to do something similar, and was desperately trying to clean up its buildings and its act in an attempt to portray itself as a vibrant city of culture and enterprise, and to demonstrate to the world the changes taking place. The campaign, which has since gone down in history as one of the best promotions ever mounted by a city, led to Glasgow hosting a major National Garden Festival on the old Docklands in 1988. That was followed by Glasgow being named European City of Culture and European City of Architecture in the 1990s, and European Capital of Sport in 2003. Over the last 40 years, Glasgow has changed enormously. Where once there were derelict shipyards and abandoned docks, there is a thriving hub of creativity, entertainment venues and luxury residential properties. The city is globally recognised as a leading centre for contemporary music. It has produced internationally acclaimed artists and is home to the Hydro, the third busiest music venue in the world. Much of this amazing transformation can be traced back to a single day in history. Monday, the 27th of June 1983, was a big day for Glasgow. It was the date that the Provost, Dr. Michael Kelly, officially declared Glasgow's miles better, as he helped hoist a giant smiley-faced cartoon character onto the front of the city chambers to announce the rebirth of Glasgow. Serendipitously, it was also the day that I came into the world.